It is because I want us to have a consensus on a sustainable method of mining the minerals in our land. We cannot have one part of the political divide campaigning for galamsey in the bush and the other waging an official fight against galamsey in the open. We must demonstrate that we love our land and are capable of taking care of it ourselves. We do not need foreigners to campaign for the protection of Ghanaian land, our inheritance. We do not need special interest groups to campaign for the protection of Ghanaian soil, flora, and fauna. It is the land of our birth. It is the land we inhabit. It is the land that supports our lands, our lives, and livelihoods. It is the land we named Ghana at independence 64 years ago. And we, the Ghanaian people, must be its best protectors of partisan politics. We must, however, come to the understanding that small-scale mining and the requirement to do away with illegalities in that sector should be beyond partisan politics. Government has a major responsibility to this end, as we are accountable for the stewardship of this sector, as indeed we are of all other sectors of national life. I am determined to enforce the laws on illegal mining, no matter the subject, high or low. I will, however, not act on hearsay or mere allegations without more. I will not hesitate to act, though, where the evidence is hard before the police, and I will do so irrespective of the standing of the person or persons involved. That is the true meaning of equality before the law. I urge this colloquium to be bold and forthright in its deliberations. In other words, say it as it is. No subject or person should be above critique. Politicians, traditional authorities, policymakers, media, so-called influential people should all not be beyond your scrutiny. At the end of the day, what the Ghanaian people expect from this process are solutions which will assist in dealing with this endemic problem.
Of the widespread allegations of the participation of or the support accorded by people of prominence in government, public and civil service, traditional authorities, business leaders, and other opinion leaders to these illegal mining activities, which has given credence and prominence to the activity. 10. The dialogue, while noting that when properly done, small-scale mining could have the key to significant economic advancement. However, unanimously agreed that galamsey is a major threat to the future of our water resources, particularly in the environment at large, thereby threatening the integrity as a nation. 11. The dialogue therefore agreed by consensus that dealing with galamsey is a national emergency which required urgent and concerted effort. Therefore, all political parties, all stakeholder groups, all individuals need to join the development and execution of this national, not parochial, agenda to rid ourselves of the long-standing issue of illegal small-scale mining and the need to implement measures in eradicating it out of our society.
Welcome back on the AM show. It's all about ending illegal mining, aka galamsey. At least illegal small-scale mining, to actually put it in the right perspective. And our guest joining us this morning, Daryl Bosu. He is Deputy Executive Director with Arosha Ghana, an environmental protection group. Then there also is Godwin Ama, who is General Secretary for the Small-Scale Miners Association. Daryl joins us in studio, and Godwin will be joining us via Zoom. Let me quickly say a very good morning to Godwin. Godwin, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Great. So I wanted to do the sound check and all. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining the conversation. Also here in the studio, Daryl Bosu. Thank you, Daryl, for joining us once
Thank
more.
you also for having me. Yeah.
Great. So I'll just have you speak up a little so we can hear you better.
All right.
Galamsey, it's been a long time. We've come a long way.
Yeah.
It's been decades, literally, and we've been battling with this. Now it's been described as a national emergency. Just how much of a national emergency do we find ourselves in? And what is the current state of our natural resources vis-a-vis Galamsey? Break it down for us.
Okay, so before we go really deep into this, I need to make a distinction between what we call Galamsey,
right?
Because there are also several other forms of mining. There is the small-scale mining. There's also the large-scale mining. So anytime we say Galamsey,
there is the illegal small-scale mining.
Not necessarily. These are all the illegal actors who are operating outside those people who have been licensed to actually operate. Some of them come in the form of small-scale. Some also come in the form of artisanal, and they go to the field with their pitchforks and also pans and all of that. They do not necessarily have the support of other mining support agencies, but they are so widespread, they don't have license to operate. So these are the people we are talking about, those who work outside the formalized mining sector. And these people, for a long time, and by the modus operandi, they actually go to our rivers, they get to our forest reserve, they hide in the thicket of the forest and work. So before you realize, they've caused so much damage. And I'll say that for the last decade, we've had this menace going across the country, stripping our forests bare and polluting our rivers to the extent that most agencies that are responsible for water resources and for forest management and all of that have really cried out, asking for support. And not only them, even communities living close to most of these areas where the operations are happening and find their rivers polluted and all of that have found themselves really in arms sometimes with some of these people. So that is the extent to which these activities have been across the country, and for which reason, looking at the scale of it, if you look at 2016 and look at very recent development, 2018, 2019, you saw Ghana Water Company really crying out that, look, if we do not do something about this, we are going to have serious challenges with water. We've had the Center for...
Even the processes involved will be many more, and the cost of giving us water would be something
more expensive because they need more chemicals to treat the turbid water and all of that. And this is the reason why, looking at all of that, coupled with the fact that even on the field, the operations of these people leads to several casualties and fatalities. You've seen and heard about the countless times people have fallen in pits or people have died and the pit caving in on them and all of that.
It was a recent one. I mean, it happens all the time.
So all of these issues, and sometimes if you really look at the losses and the impact, you ask yourself, is this worth it? And the fact that it's also widespread makes it worrying. So to go forward and in seeing this issue, I think it's the reason why we've all realized that, look, if we do not deal with it, it is really going to take all of us for ransom. And that is how come we have seen the need. And this has always been the case, right from, I'll say, 2016, we have seen that addressing the menace of Galamsey is a national emergency. We've seen the media coalition with Galamsey. We've seen several CSOs really work at this. And I think that the fact that we are still on it shows the enormity of the issues that we are dealing with. Now, coupled with that, and talking about the natural resources also, so Galamsey does not happen in space. It happens right where our land is, our forest is, our cocoa farms are, and our rivers are. And over time, we've seen significant loss. Recent research data coming out shows that Ghana has lost significant forests, and not because of farming. Farming has always been with that,
right?
But also because of Galamsey activities. So they said that we've lost about 60%.
EU, and we'll be talking about the EU, but if you look at their report and why they are threatening the way they are when it comes to capping or cutting down on cocoa exports. they talk about how in the 70s and 80s and 90s and all of that, satellite images and what they showed when it comes to our forest natural cover and what it is now. It tells you that Galamsey is basically destroying our environment to the point where, like you were mentioning earlier, not just our water, but it's been even said that if we are not careful, we could get to the point where at some point we're importing water.
Exactly.
And I've been in a country where they've had to do that. So you know that it's a possibility. It's
actually a reality. Already, most communities are struggling. They have to depend on sachet water, they have to depend on boreholes, they even have to be supplied with water tankers, and that's the only way they get water. And it's only them. And these rural areas are where we also get water for the cities. So if you look at places like the Birim, the Odan water treatment facility, it's a big town. It's fed by rivers from the Birim and the Ayensu and the Densu. If you look at Koforidia, the Tano, the Pra, people in the western region depend on the Pra and the Ankobra and all of that. So for as long as these sources of water are polluted, and if you take a critical look at Ghana water companies and treatment stations across the country, they are all sitting right on top of rivers and streams. And these are the same streams that Galamsey activities is actually polluting. So for as long as these sources are polluted, the severity of water crisis we're going to face in the future is really going to be dire.
Let me cross over to Godwin now. And you are with the Small Scale Miners Association as General Secretary. What is the state? How do you see our current state in reality when it comes to Galamsey? And how do you find the consultative process so far in dealing with the menace?
Okay, thank you and good morning again. If you look at the state of mining in the country now, especially with small-scale mining, there's a lot of illegal mining activities, mainly in the forest reserves and the use of dredges on our river bodies, which is affecting even this water security and water availability in most of the rural areas that we are working. That small-scale mining activity is taking place. And as the small-scale miners, we don't have clean water. Even it's very difficult for us to get recoveries for you to be able to make profits on your investments as a miner. So the activities of illegal miners or galamseyers is affecting everyone. It's affecting everyone. It's a national emergency issue. So with the dialogue that took place, first of all, I have to congratulate the minister and the president for letting us have this dialogue at the first place, because it brought all stakeholders for us to be able to see how best to be able to move forward in ensuring that mining is done in a more sustainable manner. And some of the issues that we were identified for this issue of illegal mining taking place is lack of monitoring and enforcement of our laws, because we have all the laws. We have the buffer zone law, which states clearly how people should mine, and compliance issue is becoming a problem because state institutions lack the necessary resources, and also the issues of interference in their business is also causing a lot of these illegalities in the country. So going forward as an association, we are proposing the community enforcement approach, where the management of or the enforcement of illegal mining activity or mining activity can take place at the community doorstep, so that it will not escalate into even the district before it goes to the national, and then it gets out of hand, so that then it will be a national issue. So with the proposal that we are giving in enforcement, one is to add the chiefs. There should be a committee that the chiefs, the Small Scale Miners Association is part, the Minerals Commission, and then the EPA. So that what they will do is every community that mining is taking place in, or where we have blockout areas, the number of companies or small-scale entities that have been given licenses will be available to the committee to know, so that anybody coming outside of it, they will identify that they don't have the requisite license unless Minerals Commission have updated them or have given them that information that this group of people are coming to work here. In that case, we'll be able to eliminate it at the doorsteps, so that those who are politically exposed people or influential people will not be able to put any pressure on this committee, because it's right in the middle of the community, and that will really go a long way to help. But the state now is our forest covers are going in a rapid way. Our water bodies are polluted. There is degradation. And if something is not done urgently, at the end of the day, the issue of sustainability will not be there for everyone.
Okay.
And that is what we stand for as an association, to use our self-policing policy and our task force to help government or collaborate with government to ensure that there is sanity in the industry.
Let me ask you this, Godwin. You have been a part of this process, and as General Secretary of this group of small-scale miners, you represent many thousands. So tell us, what would be your major concern of all of this discussion? Yes, we want to do away with illegal small-scale mining. We want to do away with the effects. But what would be your foremost concern if you could just name one thing that you were looking out for at this point in time, as far as your association is concerned? What would it be?
The issue of enforcement of the law to ensure that people do the right thing.
Okay.
That's the one, because we have all the laws. The legal framework is there, but compliance to the legal framework, if people are not doing the right thing, then we need to enforce the law. So enforcement is a major challenge.
Okay.
And that is what, as an association, we are looking up to the regulatory agencies to do.
Let's come back into the studio, and I'll just read this bit from what Mr. President said. Mining can create jobs, mining can improve livelihoods, and mining can generate wealth. But it cannot and must not do so at the expense of damaging the environment that produces the riches. I'll get to this again later when we start another end of the conversation. But this entire consultative process, very quickly, what would you say these past 2 days and the engagement, what has been the fruit of this consultative process?
It's for us, the way we see it has been that it's only provided a platform for the country to dialogue and also reflect on Galamsey issues once again. Even though we've been having a discussion at many quarters across the country, this platform brought everybody together and said, look, we've all been having our individual discourse in various locations across the country, but let's all meet together and really, once again, reiterate the issues. And I need to say, a lot of the issues that are coming out through the communique, there was really nothing that was new, but it still highlights the need that, look, we still have a crisis on our hands.
And it's important that you mentioned that. Yeah. In other words, this is basically nothing new. We know of these things.
We know
the 15 points
things.
And all of that, what Samuel Abu Jinapo has been telling us. We know them.
Yeah.
But now we're highlighting them.
We're highlighting
and hopefully
them.
we'll act on them.
Yes, we are highlighting them, and it is good that we are recognizing that there's been failures, there's been certain challenges, and we are recommitting. And for me, this is very crucial. We are recommitting, but what we also need to ask ourselves is that what are we bringing to the table as we commit? Because we've made really beautiful statements. And I mean, one of the things you said, the president's statement at the opening of the program was really, I would say, very profound. And it's something we've heard him say over and over again. It's about time we start seeing some of these beautiful species translate into action. And so we can have this beautiful dialogue come out of this communique. If we really don't get to work on what needs to be done, then we'll have wasted our time again. Because we did it several years back. And going forward, we need to make it count this time around.
So we need to make it count. I remember engaging you, months back, ahead of this dialogue and asking whether you were going to be a part of it, what you were expecting. This is kind of like a roadmap. It's like a flight. And we're still, at a certain berth. We've not got to the final destination. How much of a solution is this? Starting the process, but what more remains to be done?
Well, I think for me, what remains to be done now is that the politicians, these people of influence, and the elite in the society who know they have a certain power, and the people, because of our cultural upbringing and all of that, we have respect for authority. They've been abusing that kind of authority, even though there are state institutions that exist to make sure that policies and frameworks are complied with to the letter. This is a particular from everybody said, look, enough with what we have been doing. There's been too much interference. There's been too much involvement. Let's leave the institutions to work. So for me, this is quite a very strong statement. And the fact that we are saying that we're not going to do what we did before, and even we have to disband Vanguard and several other groups, because some of these task force, they were useful for a time. Going forward, we need to make our institutions work.
Also important that you bring this up, because you expressed your disappointment the last time I spoke with you about the current regime, the groups that have been set up, and the disappointments. Some have even said that it's been a failure. So what would you really be looking forward to moving on?
So we are looking at a decentralized approach to the mining regulation and the compliance system in the country. At the moment, we know, and it should be the only institution in the country who should be supervising the issuing of permits and licenses when it comes to mining. It doesn't matter whether it is community mining, small scale, whatever it is, it should be the Minerals Commission. And we should empower them to do that job. Then again, we already have decentralized systems across the country. If you go to the MMDAs, the Minerals Commission can be found there sometimes. You can also have them at the regional level. We should empower them. One of the key challenges Minerals Commission has been complaining about for a long time, that even necessitated the work of Vanguard and all of that, is the fact that they are not adequately resourced. And we've rather formed parallel institutions outside them who are taking the role of Minerals Commission. Let's close all of that. Let's shut all of them down and give the power, resources, every logistic to Minerals Commission to employ more people, decentralize all these people, and make sure they work. Once again, we have the DCIM, that's the District Committee on Illegal Mining. We need to open up this system. It is too close a system. Just the EPA, the same institutions that supervise all of these illegalities across the country. We need to open it up to bring in more neutral institutions like, as my colleague said, the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners, civil society, gender advocates. We need them in here so they can speak to the core of the issues. We cannot always leave these decisions to the elite in society to the detriment of the masses.
Let me cross over now to Godwin, who joins us via Zoom. Now, this consultative process, will this in all reality solve our problems? Is this how we should have started the process? Because the talk shop, we've always opened it. We've spoken and spoken and spoken. People like you have spoken. The political leaders have spoken. But it's not got us anywhere. Is this what is going to solve our problems?
Yeah, I think there's always the first step. And the dynamics changes when it comes to issue of illegal mining. It's like an octopus with a lot of tentacles. You hold one, then the other one will be operating. So this is a first step that I think we should all engage. It's a shared responsibility. So if you have a platform that you engage everyone for us to take the best decision forward, I think it's something that is good. And you also look at the commitment of the minister, we've seen that sort of commitment, that we've done it in the past, we've evaluated it, there are challenges, and we need to find ways and means for us together to ensure that we do this. So that is one thing that I'll commend him for. But then the next issue is, most of it, when we finish these dialogues and get a blueprint, we go to do the district or the regional engagement. The implementation aspect has always been a challenge. So that is the next stage that we should look at. The dialogue, after everything, in the blueprint, we should look at how best do we come out with proper implementation strategies which will suit the challenges that we have on the ground. And that is where we always have the challenge. The district mining committees, as my brother said in the studio, that is supposed to handle issues of small-scale mining or illegal mining at the district level, because if you look at the small-scale sector, it's the menace of illegal mining is a national challenge, but its solution lies in the local level. The district mining committees are not well resourced. They don't even meet. And if you you look at the constitution of the committee, and as my brother said, we need to add other groups also into it so that it will be more effective. The next stage is to ensure that the issue of Minerals Commission interference from above should be eliminated. And as an association, we are prepared to commit and collaborate with all the state agencies to ensure that we self-govern the small-scale sector. That is the only way that will be able to to bring the change that we want. And also hold people in leadership for their stewardship. Because if you are a district chief executive and you are representing government at the districts and the vision of government you go contrary to, then there should be some sort of this thing that will be taken against such person. Because if you get to the community now, you see a lot of galamsey going on in the name of community mining, which most of them are being aided by some district chief executives. Instead of Minerals Commission leading to issue licenses for people to operate under the community mining scheme, which is a flagship program of government, these district chief executives, some of them are going contrary to what the law states, and they are issuing licenses, permits for people, which is not their jurisdiction. And what is happening is no one is monitoring. And if you go to most of the districts, you realize that the environmental degradation is going higher and higher. And that is why some of the chiefs are complaining, like Ochihine said, the issue of community mining, he thinks is going to be worse than galamsey. The community mining as a scheme is one of the best because there's governance structure that the Minerals Commission put in place. And it's also not replacing small-scale mining, as people are thinking. It's not replacing small. It's a scheme under the small-scale mining to mainstream illegal miners into the legal framework for them to be properly monitored so that they will follow the compliance issue. So these are some of the things that we need to do. Implement all the strategies properly for us to achieve the ultimate.
Okay, and it's very important you make those points, and even in the studio, Daryl, because I recall there was a time when I didn't know whether it was a DCE who was sort of calling out the system and saying that in this community it is galamsey that the youth do, and this is how they thrive. I've just forgotten.
That's around Bosomefre.
Yes.
So the community is also rising.
So you notice the sort of problem we have, because sometimes even those at the helm of affairs themselves do not understand what this is doing to us, and that is one good thing, because in this entire process, you've had former, leaders of the Chamber of Mines. You've had chiefs, representatives from the National House of Chiefs, the regional houses of chiefs, their presidents. You've had people in the mining industry, stakeholders across the board, coming through to Georgia to share ideas on this. But I want to start this conversation with you in the studio. The European Union has said that it's going to ban exports from the Ivory Coast and Ghana, cocoa exports, I should say, owing to illegal mining, or what we call galamsey, small-scale illegal mining. And that has raised a lot of eyebrows. In fact, Mr. President said that we don't need anybody to tell us about the reality of our situation. But the other reality is that we've not dealt with the situation properly. How do you feel? Is the European Union being a big bully, or is it being a friend in this respect? And let's not forget, 80% of our cocoa exports go to them. What's your take?
Yes, so I think they are being both a bully and a friend.
At the same time?
At the same time, yes, because, taking the bully position is very strategic, also to help us recognize that, look, there are issues we need to deal with. Because for a long time, we have blamed the cocoa sector, as responsible for degradation and forest loss across the country. But if you really go down to the ground, in the last decade, it is not cocoa anymore. It is galamsey activities, even taking over cocoa farms. And the fact that galamsey is happening in cocoa farms also has implications for the kind of chemicals that are really getting within the cocoa value chain, because galamsey involves the use of several heavy metals, and these have the tendency to get into the food system if we do not manage it. So these are where all these concerns are from. A friend, because the European Union has also been supporting Ghana for many years on issues of forest, sustainable forest management and all of that. But that said, I need to recognize that for a long time, Cocoa Board and the Forestry Commission have really been working very hard to stem the tide of illegal mining activities and other activities that are leading to the destruction of our forests, which indirectly is also affecting cocoa, because the more we lose forest, the more the surface temperatures increase and becomes not so conducive for cocoa production. So I like the stance of the EU, like they know the power they have now where they import 80%, but at the same time, they are also trying to tell us that, look, you better do something about this, because it's not just about cocoa, because there are also several other land uses within the space. That is also has to do with people's human rights and all that. And for as long as the EU is always pushing out for human rights and also for the sustainability of the environment and other aspects of global well-being, these definitely will be a cause of concern for them.
Okay. Let me quickly come to you, Godwin, on that very beat. How do you take the reaction of the European Union? Friend or bully?
It's both. If you look at mining and then agriculture, there's always competition for space. They are all competing for space. But if we do the mining properly and reclaim properly, we can still take the gold from the earth and also reclaim and get our plants back. The issue is we are not doing it the way we are supposed to do. Because there are areas that there have been a lot of degradation. And most of that land can never be used unless we put in a lot of money for us to be able to reclaim and rejuvenate to get the fauna and flora back. So I think we should look at it. That's why we are all seeing it as emergency, the issue of illegal mining activity or people not practicing responsible mining, because we will have people who are issued, some miners who are issued with license, and the issues of compliance will not be at the rate that we want it to be. So it's both. We all need to look at it that way. And also Cocoa Board should come out with strategy, because if you watch clearly, it's not only small scale or illegal mining or mining that is competing with space. Most of the farmers now, I'm a practitioner, I'm a miner. When we get to the field, some tell you, look, we want to sell our cocoa farms because we are not making anything out of it. We are not making any money out of the cocoa farm. And after reclamation, if you visit some of the sites that we've worked on, they prefer to plant coconuts. Some prefer to plant rubber. So the issue needs to be looked at in depth. We need to do it. The cocoa board need to do research and know why most of the farmers are losing interest in planting of the cocoa. Are they not making that much? Because if you look at them, I tried to plant cocoa, so I was looking at the costings myself. And I look at the labor, paying those people and all that. And if I compare it with how much I'm getting at the end of the day, will I be able to make that profit? So those are
there are not sufficient incentives for that industry.
Incentives are not there for them. Right. So most of them are selling their. So if someone comes who is an illegal miner, is offering him a very good price, the next thing he will do is he will sell.
Good point.
Get some money. And at the end of the day, so it just goes beyond only blaming illegal miners, mining and all that. But there should be a study to understand why most of the farmers are now losing interest in cocoa farming.
Okay.
Then the European Union, as we see, they have always supported Ghana. But I believe in what the president said, that no one should come from outside to tell us what to do. We know the things that are affecting this country.
Right.
We need to. And with the right leadership, I tell you, ordinary people can do extraordinary things. Okay. And leadership is very important in whatever we do.
Right. Knowing a problem is only a part of the problem. Acting to solve the problem is the other side of it. You wanted to quickly add something?
Yes, I wanted to say that the way we're also handling the cocoa farmers, we need to be very strategic. We've made it such that it should all be about cocoa. There needs to be a system where we help cocoa farmers diversify their income streams. It is not the land, for as long as the land is fertile for production for cocoa, you can use it for other things. Right. You can do plantain, and there are several high-end, what you call non-timber forest products, which are mostly spices and other crops like the pear and all of that, which you can integrate in your cocoa farm and give you several other income streams. So whilst we're engaging farmers, we should move away from the idea of monocultures and cropping of our farmland, so that when the crop is out of season, we'll find ourselves wanting. We need to have that discussion where we diversify the income streams available to farmers and not just focus on one particular crop to the extent that if it starts losing out on income, then we are really found wanting. Again,
multi-cropping.
Exactly. We should also be very strategic. I mean, like my colleague said, mining is competing with other land uses. Cocoa and the others are surface rights. Mining is you take it from underground, and once you turn it upside down, it takes not less than 10 years for you to actually return the land to productive use. And this is something that we really need to assess critically, because yes, mining might seem to be lucrative now, but the bigger question is, what is the long-term impact and effect on all the other surface rights that you get? So as a country, there has been, I would say recently, some sort of prioritization for the minerals beneath, and not prioritization for the resources on the land, which is more accessible to most people and also the masses of the populace.
Okay, and it's interesting, again, it segues neatly into what I'm about to mention, because you're looking at mining which goes down, turns everything upside down, and the longevity itself of mining is finite.
Yes,
you get it. Our gold resources will get exhausted. Our black gold, the oil will get exhausted. But farming is a process that if you maintain the land, you can do for thousands of years to come. I'll go back. I promised I would do this, and I am going to do it. I'm going to quote Mr. President again when he said, mining can create jobs, mining can improve livelihoods, and mining can generate wealth, but it cannot and must not do so at the expense of damaging the very environment that produces the riches. Why am I bringing this up? I'm going to twist the conversation just a little and talk about Etiwa. Etiwa has been designated by our government as a significant biodiversity area, and now it's also made it on the list of Alliance for Zero Extinction. Basically, another step in terms of protection of our natural resources. What can you tell us about this new development, especially as Etiwa is also in the picture, but on a different level when it comes to bauxite?
So the president's statement should apply to every aspect of our lives as a nation. We do not, on one hand, close our eyes. For example, we are looking at greening Ghana somewhere on June 11 is a great idea. But the question you ask yourself is, why be planting trees when there is also a mass deforestation going on? Let's arrest that mass deforestation, and this will be a very good complement. Otherwise, some people really doubt your commitment to the process. So it's the same thing with this statement.
Do you doubt the president's commitment to the process?
No, I'm saying that what you say and your actions eventually will confirm whether you mean it or not. Because in one breath you are saying we should recognize the inextricable link of our lives to land and the resources it gives us, as well as the other riches. But in one breath also, we are supporting other activities that is going to destroy that same land. And we are also working hard at stopping Galamsey. But here is the case, there's a bigger national policy to say that we are going to mine in critical ecosystems across the country. If you do that, it's even much more bigger than the Galamsey we are seeing, and you are not setting the right tone for the rest of the population to follow along. So now, the new designation when it comes to Atiwa, what it actually means is that the forest is so significant in every aspect, for water services, for biodiversity, and for as long as the international community lists an area like that, it means that this area has a high endemism of species. Endemism means that there are so many species that can only be found in this forest reserve and nowhere else in the world.
It's interesting you bring that up. Let me just, because the Efia Brago paddle frog was recently discovered by Ghanaian scientist Dr. Caleb Ofori-Boateng of the CSIR Forestry Research Institute. And it's practically on the verge of extinction, but we find it in Etiwa.
Exactly. And it's also only found in Atiwa. You actually don't find it anywhere else in the world.
Wow.
And the other thing is that as we speak, there are a few other species which are being classified, trying to identify their names before we even put them out, because we realize that they're also new species to science and also to the world. So Atiwa, as we see, aside the significant water services, is also very high diversity for biodiversity. And that is how come the global community has seen the need to put it on that list of no-go zone, on the Alliance for Zero Extinction site. And once you are put on this site, it means that the international financial community already flags this place as no-go area for any investment whatsoever, and that means that if you even want to consider any venture, it's going to be very, very difficult for anybody to put their best foot forward.
Okay, so to wrap the conversation, I'll give you 30 seconds each. Godwin, what next in the following days, weeks, months? What do you want to see?
Yeah, thank you. I want to just
please make it very brief.
Saying that it will take 10 years for you to for land to be rejuvenated for planting. It depends on how the reclamation is done. If reclamation is done properly, maximum by 2 years, that land can be used. You can use it for any other crop. Because we did some reclamation, and in 6 months, maize grown, and it grown very well, cassava and all that. So the issue is, if people do the reclamation properly, we can get the land back to good use. And I also look at the implementation. The next 2, 3, up to the next month will be the issue of going through the communities to engage with them on this issue of the dialogue, and then put the blueprints forward for us to start the issue of implementation. But what I would say now is we shouldn't wait for the conversation to get to our communities. We've heard it. DCs are the various on the various district mining committees should start to act.
Okay.
They are the head of the security. Dissect there. So they should start to act and ensure that we get rid of these illegal miners on our water bodies in the land assembly.
Thank you very much. Godwin, your 30 seconds. So what do you want to see the next few days, weeks, months?
As we are still preparing the dialogue documents and all of that, Galamsey activities are still ongoing in the field. And I think that we need to have an immediate stopgap measure in place to ensure that we halt it to a certain extent and make sure that we put in the necessary mechanism. I'm going to stress again the importance for us to prepare and sufficiently resource Minerals Commission, the EPA, and the Water Resource Commission to take charge of the mineral sector in this country. No more political interference and involvement.
I'd like to say a very big thank you to Godwin Ama, General Secretary, Small Scale Miners Association, and of course, Daryl Bosu, Deputy Executive Director at Arusha, Ghana. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Benjamin.
It's been a pleasure. And the conversation continues.
Sure, thank you.
So, do stay with us when we come back on the AM show. Just think about this, food for thought. Think of the trotro mate shouting himself hoarse to attract passengers. That market woman or hawker screaming her lungs out to attract customers, or maybe even the street preacher or pastor in church raising his voice to decibels that would make even a whistle proud. But all these people, infrequently pitching their voices this high, expose themselves to sometimes irreparable damage to their vocal cords and voice boxes. This is called voice disability, and some 92 million people across the world suffer from some form of it. If you'd like to know more about how to safeguard your voice and make the most of it, especially if you're a singer, broadcaster, voiceover artist, pastor, hawker, politician, lawyer, actor, actress, and more, stay with us as we host Godwin Tetevi, speech and language therapist at the Ridge Hospital, and Letitia Afigomado, speech and language therapist as well with the Kolebu Teaching Hospital on World Voice Day. That's our next conversation.